Well, this day for me is very significant because it just elevates the importance of paying attention to the girl child. As they say, preparation is everything. So opportunity that meets preparation is opportunity that gets translated into so many things. So for me, this day becomes very important in just stopping the world to say, what are we doing to prepare the next generation? And that for me becomes very, very significant because we all know the importance of paying attention to the girl child, because the girl child that is fully prepared for the future, it makes a huge difference, not just at a societal level, but also at a global level. Well, okay, so it's interesting that the theme, fits in very well within the context of what the global village is going through right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, which I think has elevated a number of things that we never paid attention to. If you asked anybody else several years ago, we never thought that we would be in a situation where children would have to be sent back home and learn and do online learning. We never thought that we used to live in that era where access to digital gadgets and everything else was a luxury or was very limited. But COVID-19 has just brought that to the fore, to the fact that where we're going and the era that we are, digital is everything. Everything else that is happening now is kind of becoming, held up together in the digital era. And so, befitting this theme of digital and fitting with the girl child, I think it is important to ensure that we now begin to ask ourselves to what extent is the girl child having access to all that is digital. Because if we are going to elevate the level of participation and the level of affluence of girls and as they grow into adults, it is important that they also become abreast of what's happening in and around them. And digital is now the new gateway to ensuring that we are exposed to what's happening around us. So I think it is the right theme. But I think more so very important for Malawi is the fact that it's an opportunity for us to ask ourselves to say, what are we doing to ensure digital equality? To ensure that the girl child that grows up in Area 12 and the girl child that grows up in Borero in Rumpi has got the same access to information. And so the digital access becomes, for me, a primary important focus area in as far as the context of Malawi is concerned. Because we will have to begin to move towards addressing, first of all, issues of access before we even begin to think about anything else. That for me becomes very, very important. I think I was sharing that when we had schools going to home and doing online learning, we had cases of some children not able to have access to internet, let alone just the gadget to access their learning. That for me is a big issue. How do we build a future Malawi that is resilient digitally, that is able to, in any situation that happens, is still able to have this generation access to digital? That for me is very, very important. Yeah, so it starts from preparation, and I think it's two contexts to it. Is that one, when you have a situation in institutions, organizations that have got background biases, you find yourself situations where that divide manifests itself, where access to certain what we would call modern gadgets would first of all priority be given to men as opposed to women, or one would think that they are best tested on men as opposed to women. So we've seen that, but I think over time we're moving away from that. We're beginning now to see everybody else is fully embracing the fact that it is important that any digital access to either infrastructure or the software itself, it has to be equal to everybody else, because they are now very much integrated as part of our everyday life. So we've seen it in the recent past, but I think over time we have migrated from there. Right now, access to digital services and infrastructure is now a new norm, and therefore beginning to make it more urgent to ensure that we move towards our past biases and ensure that people are having equal access. Now, in terms of addressing the gaps that are there, one would want to start from the softer issues of, first of all, making sure that there's a full understanding that any opportunity that is available is equal to all, whether it be a man or whether it be a woman. And I think we have moved towards that. So employers are little by little becoming equal opportunity employers. And it's important to create spaces where everyone else thinks, and also not just thinks, but experiences the fact that as long as you have gone through the normal loops of education, the opportunities that are available there are for everyone else to take. And so issues of merit and issues of equal performance, for me, become we're moving from an era of deliberate proactive action, where we were saying that perhaps maybe let's create some quotas for women to do this. But I think we are past that era now. We're moving into a space where I think now, when you talk about equal opportunity, it starts from equal empowerment. It starts from the preparation, making sure that the girls have got same access to education as boys, and even as they go through primary, secondary and tertiary, to ensure that the level of preparation is at the same level. Once you've done that, it takes care of the future. It prepares both the girl and the boy to be able to face up the opportunities and be able to grab them and compete equally and fairly, and whoever is the best of the day carries the day. And apart from that, I think it's important to now contribute at a personal level. And I think the biggest contribution is around modeling. There are quite a lot of young people in Malawi that just need someone else they can look up and make them believe that out of their circumstances, they will be able to also rise and be able to become a person of importance in society, both from the boy and a girl. And I think that becomes very, very critical. We have the majority of Malawians, especially girls, that are growing up in spaces where the only learned person they would ever have seen may be a district commissioner or an environmental officer. So I think it's beginning to elevate that exposure, because I am a person that believes that there's no amount of education that can compare to exposure. So when we expose these girls at a very young age in a make-believe situation, they will begin to understand that they too can rise out of their situation. I mean, when they see us today put on these suits, and they begin to hear the story behind for some of us to get to where we are. We're not expecting them to struggle as they are, but I think the issue now is how do we begin to use our stories to inspire the millions of girls and boys across to also believe that they too can rise and they too can make a big difference. While some of us grew up in situations where we did not have choice of the best things life has had to offer at that time, the issue now is begin to create choices that our girls can be able to grow up with an opportunity to choose, and not just choose the average, but be able to choose the best things that life has to offer. And that's the personal responsibility that I've taken upon myself, is as much as possible to reach out to girls that don't have, and boys that don't have opportunity to just hear a story of someone else that was like them, and through determination and belief, they were able to, they too can be able to rise and become a person of influence in whatever sphere of life.